Hi everyone, my name is Ben Ma. I'm here with a new SuperCraft tutorial. Today we're going to design a luxury backpack together based on a specific design brief. I've already done the work for you, so today I am showing you the process of how I create the design using SuperCraft. As you can see, um, I started with understanding my design brief for the project. What I did was I used a sticker. I used a sticky note here, and I dropped in my design brief into the sticky note, so I can always use this as a reference. So to go into a little bit more detail about this project, we're going to design a luxury leather backpack, and it's going to be Italian cow leather. And regarding the design, there is a fold over flap with buckle and a concealed snap. And a bit more details into the design, there are two front flap pockets, side zips, and interior compartments. And then regarding branding, we have some hardware components with engravings. And then at the top of the backpack, there is a handlebar. And regarding dimensions, it's around 18 inches tall and 13 inches length, and then 6 inches in depth. The overall look and feel that we're trying to achieve with this bag design is to make it feel heritage, but at the same time very modern. So I have this opened as a sticky note, so I can always come back and compare while I go through the design process. I also learned from this process that I could break these design brief into components to make it easier for me to reference to. For example, one sticky note is on materials, another sticky note is purely on the form of the design, and the third sticky note here is just on the details. This is kind of what you will do towards the end of designing with SuperCraft. And this sticky note is on the dimensions, and I also had a note for my own deliverables. So let's go into the initial design steps. What I did was I had a thought of I came up with some ideas for the bag, and I drew a few different sketches. This is the first sketch. My intention was that these straight lines that you see was were the wrinkles when the bag closed out, and then the flap kind of goes on top. And all I did was I used really simple rectangles and lines to describe this idea. And then in the front of this bag, there are two pockets. These are all straight lines. Anybody can be able to do a sketch like this. And let's look at the next sketch. This sketch is kind of bad. The intention was to make this more of a oval looking bag. And the third sketch was kind of an improvement of the second sketch. This is more just an oval, and we were going to let SuperCraft to take over and really define what that bag can look like in the oval shape. And for this sketch, this is another direction. I was thinking about a bag that is kind of wide on top, narrow in the center, and also wider at the bottom. And this is more of a chiseled direction. So let's go into the directions. For the second one, as you can see, the sketch and also I used this render note to describe the sketch. I said oval leather backpack with a fold over flap with buckle. It kind of wasn't able to hold on to the silhouette that I defined, and also because this was a bad sketch. So my next attempt was just using an ellipsoid, and I changed my description of it, and I was able to achieve a result like these three. I thought these were really interesting to continue. And for this sketch, I used a new description. I said, keep the silhouette of the backpack like the sketch, make a front view of a leather backpack. And it was able to get the gesture of my intention. However, it failed to really keep the silhouette that way. I tried it again and again. And then I used InPaint to kind of hoping to reduce the volume. It gave me a blurry version. And however, after this, when I used the render node to process it, I said make a backpack that has a unique shape, bigger on top, narrow at the center, and bigger at the bottom. It it was able to create something that is closer to my intention. And for this one, I was essentially trying to um, a different direction, and it was able to give me um, a bag that is more chiseled. I used a sketch function in a in a with an image like this. What you could do is you click here, and then you can actually sketch on top of this image. If you wanted to add something specifically, you can draw like this here, and then you can use the render node. You can connect it with a render node and to render on top. Okay, so these were the exploration attempts that I had. Let's go to the direction that I proceeded with uh, towards the end. So for this design, with the most messy sketch, in the render node, I said, let's do the leather backpack, front view, flap over covering the opening that is tightened by the drawstring, and the wrinkle of the backpack shows patina. Two sides of the backpack has side pocket to fit water bottles, and then also make sure to say do not show the water bottle. And there are two front pockets for smaller items. And this was the first render that it gave me. I put a sticky note here saying that this image kind of misunderstood my intent of making the wrinkle a main feature of this design direction. So I readjusted the description and tried it again, and I thought this was better. This one is the initial output is a bit too bulbous. However, these lines that I drew from the initial sketch should not be considered as straps. So I used the edit node, which you see here, to remove all the strings under the flap. It was able to do like a 70% job. And in order to remove all the strings, I used the InPaint, and I added the mask on top of all these strings that I see. And then I wrote to remove straps. And this is a much more cleaner design. And judging from the design, I do not like how big these two pockets are. So I used the edit node again over here. And then I said, remove the two front pockets of this backpack. And I think it did a great job cleaning this up. And I wanted to trim a little bit of the edges to make it more cohesive. So I used InPaint, select all these corners, and then I said remove the volume. And it was kind of able to do that at the bottom, but it did not do that towards the top. As I continue to work on this design, I wanted to relate to the design brief to make it more heritage inspired, but also modern. So I decided that the front flap needs to be more organic. So I used the sketch function. I'm happy to show that to you again. So I click this dot, and then I click sketch, and then I click to draw. this image is loading a bit slowly. So essentially what I did was that I drew directly on top of this image, and then I used the edit node and said, please make the top flap a half circle, just like the black line that I drew. And it was able to give me this really smooth uh, shape. And then this doesn't look that symmetrical. I wanted something that is much more symmetrical. So you see me continuing using edit. Here is a good symmetry. However, it's lacking the two pockets from the design brief. So I drew using the sketch function again right on top of this image. And I said, hey, add two thin zipped pockets in the front. Unfortunately, it gave me a direction that was not my intention, but I personally do see this as more of a modern option. And I used InPaint to mask this brass feature, and then I clicked, and then I wrote to remove it. So based on this direction, I continued with a render node. I wanted to change the color, material, and finish of this design. I wrote black cow leather bag with combination of sleek nylon. Background is white and professional studio looking. I clicked go, and it was able to give me something of this quality. I personally, this is one of my favorite with this this blue trim. And I think I clicked it a few more times here. And the background is a bit dark, so I used edit to make a white background like this. Great, this works. As you can see over here, I had the intention of trying to change the shape of this half circle into more of an angular shape as a different design direction. I had a few attempts of using different tools like evolve and also edit to ask it to change the shape. However, I think the best, based on my attempts, the best way that I realized so far to change something like this is still using InPaint. So with InPaint, you draw on top of the area that you think this shape will live on, and then you write make the top flap more angular, and it was able to give me a nice top flap that is angular. Here you see me changing the color and material again. The design is completely preserved. And so now we're kind of having the main form done. I wanted to work into the details. As I recall from the design brief, it's important to have two pockets in front. But I personally do like the zip, so I would like to keep it. So in this case, I use edit, and then I said add two very thin square pockets under the zip, and it did exactly what I asked it to do. And regarding the branding aspect, I use InPaint, selected this area where I think the logo should exist. And I wrote, please add a diamond-shaped brass plate with engraving of the cursive letter MA, which was the brand. So we have a few options here. I also did the engraving of SC, stands for SuperCraft. Personally, I also really like this. This is also called a diamond shape, I believe, but this is like the diamond. So in this case, my next step is to kind of lock in on the color, material, and finish. So I picked this image to use a render node and said black cow leather and nylon pockets. And it is able to give me this image. And I used, I believe I used the remove background to get rid of this darkness here. So the next step is I would like to show you how easy it is to get your design onto a scenario. AKA, I want to see this design on someone's, like I want to see somebody wearing this design. And in this case, we still use the edit node. All you needed to do is to say, show me a person wearing this backpack from the rear view. And once you hit go, and here you go, here's a person wearing the design. And it looks pretty accurate. And next step, I tried to change up the scenarios. So I connected this image with another edit node. And then I said, show me a man in his 30s wearing light gray t-shirt, biking away with this backpack in a fully white background. This was a separate description. So based on this brief, based on this description, we were able to create this awesome image. It really did what we asked it to do while preserving the design of the backpack. So as we move towards the end of this tutorial, we want this guy to be safe while biking. So another edit node is being used. Let's add a helmet to this guy's head. And here we go. Here's a helmet. Nothing else has been changed. And then afterwards, we added a pair of sporty sunglasses to his face. So here we go. Here is the final design that we came up with of a luxury backpack. As you can see, the whole process has a lot of possibilities. Personally, I did not continue with the other directions, but I would love to move forward with this direction as well. In addition to the direction that I just shared with you, I feel like this design right here has a lot of potential. Like the first renders, I could get rid of, I could use edit or in paint to get rid of these pockets and then redesign to make it more modern. I think this is a great one that I really like to work on top. Yeah. Maybe after this tutorial, I could do another tutorial that is designing on the fly. That is different from me finishing this whole board and sharing with you my thought process after the fact. So I hope you have a great time working on SuperCraft and designing your favorite products. Please let me know if you want to see other products, other product tutorials. Happy to do them and happy to help. Thank you. I look forward to see you in the next tutorial. Bye.